Okay, guys, I'm so sorry. I have no idea why we're having poor connection today. I can see my Steve, who's my wireless guy, is flashing and flashing and flashing, and I can't understand why. So I'm going to wait just a few seconds. I apologize about that. Most of you will probably have to catch this on replay. Again, I do not know why it just decided that it was going to cancel out. So I will continue. I hope you can find me somewhere on there. But we'll continue with what we were doing, and I'll just backtrack just a little bit for those who probably missed the first part. We are using Vellum, and we are using some sticky specks. So the micro dots on here. To keep our vellum attached. And I'm going to go in with a little bit of our paste. And I'm just going to take my paintbrush and I'm actually going to pull out just a little bit, and I'm going to put it right down on my glass mat because I'm going to add some water because I really want to water that down. So for those of you who are just joining, or for those of you who are have joined and have lost me, we were having a poor connection and it just was not allowing me to do anything. So we had to cancel out. I apologize for that. Thank you, Deborah, for joining us. Again, I hope that those of you who were on part of the first grouping to start the video can find me again in here. So we're just going to continue on. Again, we're working with Vellum. We are working with the Crafter's Companion Lunar Blooms. This is for those of you who are just joining us or got cut off due to poor connections. Okay, so this is a stamp and die set that we are using. And we are going to create 2 different cards. So if you're wondering what the stamp and die set look like, for those of you who are just joining us, we've got this beautiful, I'm going to turn it this way, that way it's a little easier, stamp set. So these can be winter florals, they can be summer florals, you can do just about anything with them. And then we've got the die set that goes with it. So we are at our vellum stage where we have just put some sticky specks right down the center, and we are about to add a little bit of champagne gold TCW butter, and it's been watered down, and it's been watered down quite a bit because I really want it to look a little bit translucent. And all I'm doing is adding that color just to the center. If you are doing this, make sure that you are using an ink that is waterproof. So you can use Memento. If you have Lisa Horton Black, you can use that. If you have Gina K, you can use that. They all work with that. So I'm just going to add just a tad bit of color right in the center here, just so that it's a little bit of a sheen. And just right in here. I really don't want too much color in this because I would like to keep it as close to white on white as possible. Okay, so I'm now going to stick this down because our florals are probably going to go right off the edge of this, and I want to be able to see exactly how that's going to work. Okay, so again, for those of you who got cut off before, we're narrowing our focus down this way and that way. And I am going to be using a little bit of foam tape, and I will be using a little bit of double-sided tape just to stick our panel down. So I'm going to start doing that, and I'm just going to take my double-sided tape. When I do white cardstock, I actually prefer to use double-sided tape. I don't like to have any ripples from my glue. If you're using 110 pound, I don't find that you have any trouble with any of the glue. And again, we're doing this the opposite way. I'm actually putting the arch portion to the bottom rather than the top. I'm going to get that right in the middle. Okay, and then we're going to start playing with our florals. And I'm using 80-pound cardstock because I want to be able to curl these just a little bit, not a whole lot, just the edges, okay, just to give it a little bit of dimension. And then we've got just that little bit of color in there. And I'm going to get that in there. And then we've got our two little wood branches, and you don't need to worry too much about these because they are going to be covered. So I do want this to go off the edge of our section. And then we have this second branch, and I'm going to get that in there. And they do not have to go in a straight line. I am doing it in a straight line, and then once we start to lay them down, I'm going to twist just a little bit. We've got our second floral in there. And these two little buds, they are perfect for layering. So I'm going to pop one just in here. And then I'm going to pop one up here because I want to give a little bit of height to our floral. And then we've got this wonderful little bud, and it's a great filler. They are fabulous just for adding a little bit of an elongated look. It helps you to just layer those things and make them a little bit longer. And then we've got our leaf, and I am going to give this just a little curl down here. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to start by lifting this one up, and I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape to that one. Once that's down, then I will add a little bit of glue to the stem over here. Normally what I would do is take a picture of my finished project and then work backwards that way. Just for the sake of this one, I'm actually just going to try and just sort of repeat exactly what I had. So on this, I'm using a little bit of glue just because it's being layered on top of, so we don't need to worry too much about ripples in the paper. And I do like to add a little bit of glue to my foam tape. It just helps it to stick just a little bit better. So we're going to do that. And I'm going to move my pieces just to the side because now I want to be able to get these two pieces together. And because we have this one layered, I'm actually going to glue the bottom portion here and foam tape here so that it gives it a little bit of a dimension, still being able to be tucked under here, but then you've got this layer look coming up. So I'm going to add just a little bit of this, and I want to just make sure that it is not in a straight line with my bottom piece. So I'm going to move it over. I think I'll just go this way, and we'll see. Now I haven't put a lot of glue on here, so if I do want to move it, we still have a little bit of time for that. Okay, so we need a little piece of foam tape. And again, I'm going to put my foam tape at the top portion. It's going to give it a little bit of a three-dimensional look that way. And then just a little bit of glue on those petals because those are the ones that are going to be tucked underneath. We're just going to hold that there for a second. Okay, so now we've got a little bit of a branch offset, which is really, really nice. And then we're going to start tucking our buds in because they're going to add length to this floral. Okay, now I don't like how it looks so flat, so what I am going to do with this one is just give it a little curl, and just curling the edge with your thumb, and then you can sort of see how that just changes the look just a little bit. You just need to do a little curl. You don't need to wet the paper. It's really easy to do it just like that. And I actually think I'm going to add a piece of foam tape there. You want this one to be really, really small, just because your bud is a little bit smaller. So I'm using a piece that's about that big. And when you're doing this, if you're not sure about the foam tape portion, lay your glue down at the bottom, tuck it under, and then you can always go back and add a piece of foam tape for dimension. Okay, so now we have that, and you can actually leave it like that. It's not that bad. Okay, and then add a sentiment. You could do that. But I want to try and get in all of these pieces. So again, this is flat. I want to just curl this little end here. Not the whole thing, just that little middle end portion. And I'm going to pop this in here. So now what we have is length this way and a little bit of length this way, okay, which leaves us 2 more pieces to play with. This one I'm going to lay flat on the card itself because this one is raised, and then we're going to try and just tuck this one under as a filler. And the curl that you have on here is just enough on there to give it a little bit of dimension. And I'm going to get our leaf in there, and I want to have a little bit more extension, so I'm going to pop that right in there. And again, I'm not going to use that foam tape on that back portion, just a little bit of glue, and we've gone and curled the edge on this. Okay, so we have length going and we've got a little bit of width. Now I have one last piece in here. I find it a little open in here, so I'm actually going to tuck this guy right up in there, and then it closes that gap that's in there. And again, I'm going to just lay it flat. I'm not adding anything else to it, and I'm not actually going to curl this one either. So we're going to pop that in there. So we have this that has just a tad little bit of gold on it, just for a hint of color. And the sentiment that I chose for this is got vanilla paper. This portion down here, we're going to cover up just a tad bit of that branch that's there. We're going to raise it with some foam tape, and we are going to offset it just a little bit. We've got everything else centered, and the reason we can actually offset it and it looks fine is because we have this going on an angle. If we had done that straight up and down, I would be more inclined to put that dead center. Okay, so let's just get a little bit of foam tape, and again, we can play with this. If it doesn't look right to the eye, you can always move it. That's where the glue on the back of your foam tape comes in. It'll allow you to lift and move that sentiment just a little bit quicker. You've got about 20 seconds when you put liquid glue on the back of foam tape, which allows you to make changes if you want. So again, I'm going to offset this just like that. And you have a very simple card, and the longest part of this is actually just stamping and die cutting. Your card will come together very, very simply. Once you are doing all of that, I've got scraps left over from my cutouts, so like my die cuts. I've got a green one, so you can flip this around if you wanted to, and you could use green as your base if you wanted to add a pop of color. Our second card we're going to do, we are actually going to take some time to ink the inside, and we're going to narrow down our focus, and we're going to use 2 ink colors, and we're still going to keep our stamp white. And I'm going to show you how this is a really easy way to add interest to your card without getting complicated. So that was our first one there. This is our second. So like I said, I had die cut this. I didn't like how it looked, but I don't want to waste this. I want this to be used, and we're going to use it as a stencil. So I have two colors that we're going to be working with, and that's yellow and early sunrise. And these are both Lisa Horton colors. And I am using Studio Light brushes. Studio Light brushes are really, really nice, smooth, fine bristle. Suggestion is when you're doing something like this, hold your brush right here at the tip for a little bit more control. So I've already gone ahead and I have taped the top portion of this down, and I'm just going to add a little bit of tape down here at the bottom. Normally when I do this, I don't tape too often, but for this I thought I would show you the right way to do it rather than sort of, you know, being a rebel with the ink. So when I do something like this and I'm mixing two colors, I always start with my lightest color. That way you can always add a little bit more in terms of a deeper tone or a completely different color. The reason we're using these two colors is this has got a lot of yellow in it, so it's going to have a little bit of brightness, which is going to allow us to make a two-toned grouping inside this archway. The other thing that's good about this is we're going to take a lot of our ink off. So add it on, and then just off to the side, you want to take as much off as possible. So when I say that, I'm actually using my glass mat to take a lot off, and then I'm going on my paper and I'm putting it on. It is really light, and that is what you want. So put it on, take it off, and then we are going to add it lightly to the card base. And you can notice I am not doing the whole section right off the bat. I'm going to put this on a bit of an angle because I actually only want to do half. But I don't want it to look like there's a half line mark there. So take as much ink off as possible. You're going to get a nicer, smoother looking blend if you take your ink off and then put it back on. It just gives a nicer blend, in my opinion. I know there's lots of different ways to do it. I just find layering my inks is, it works for me, and it just gives a really nice soft look. So I'm going to do one more layer of the yellow, and I'm going to focus down in here because I want this to be just a little bit darker, and then up the side. Okay. Don't put your yellow away yet. You're going to go back to it after we've put a little bit of the orange on. Okay, so now again, take it off. You can always see how much is left on your brush by using it on a piece of paper. And I like how that's really soft to start out. So I'm going to add that to my yellow that's there. And if you've never done this before or you don't layer, trust the process. Don't peek because you'll change your line. Just trust the process. So put on your brush, take off your brush, and then layer it on to the card. And again, you can see I'm using the tips up here for a better control. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with yellow. I just wanna add a little bit in here. So on and off. And it almost looks like a little bit of a sunrise in here. So it's a nice muted color. Hard to see if it's gonna look fine because we're using a darker cutout. So again, trust the process. Okay, so we've layered that probably about 3 or 4 times. I think that should work. So we're gonna lift this up. And we're gonna take this off. Okay, that is where we're gonna place our flower. We're gonna work with that area. And again, just like in our first card, we want to elongate and arrange it in such a way that we have just balance in the middle of our card. Now, for these particular ones, I have used the Arden premium paper. It has got a flat side, and then it's got the textured side in here, and I've actually stamped on the textured side. Okay, because I wanted to have that texture pop out just a little bit. And again, we're gonna go in and we're gonna add a little bit of gold to that. Okay, so I still have some here. Just take your spray bottle, revive that just a little bit. Okay, now there's not a whole lot there, so we're gonna add just a little bit more. But again, you wanna make sure that you have watered it down. Now, the Arden paper is a 300 GSM, so it's actually gonna take the paste a little bit better than the 80-pound paper. Okay, so again, I'm just going in. I only want to do the centers because I really want that white on white look with just the pop of color from the ink blending that we've done. Okay, and then just a little bit in the center here. And then let me just pull out one of the other buds that are here. And we're using the same amount of flowers. I didn't change the amount of flowers that we use. Okay, and we're using the same amount of wood pieces. Okay, we are going to curl these just a little bit. Now, you're using 300 GSM paper. It's going to be a little bit harder to curl. If you like, you can spray the back of it. So I'm going to spray this, but I'm just going to do it off camera just so that the water doesn't go everywhere. Okay, so we've got that sprayed just a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. Okay, and so I'm going to curl from the back. Again, same idea as what we were doing with the other one. Just because this is a little bit heavier, we've used the water just to help it curl. Okay, so we've got that. And then I'm going to start with this one, and I'm only going to curl these two. Yeah, we'll do it this way. I'm going to curl these two bottom. So I'm only going to spray my water here. Sorry guys, it's freezing again. Let me just stop for a second. Okay, I think that should work. So I'm only going to spray underneath here. Okay, we're back. I'm gonna pull this way, and this way, and this way. Okay, so again, I've only sprayed here because that's all that I want to curl. And we're going to add 4 flowers in here this time. So we're actually going to jam them in just a little bit. So 2 are going to be curled and 2 are not because they're going to lay flat. So I'm going to pull this up here like this. And I want to pull this one down here like this. And I'm actually going to start by offsetting them a little bit. I don't want them in that straight diagonal line. So adding a little bit of glue. And then we're going to add a little bit of glue. And you can see I'm not putting the glue all the way up to the top. It's sort of sitting at the bottom half. That's just in case I want to curl or tuck. Okay, so I leave myself a little bit of space so that we have the ability to tuck other pieces under, or we have the ability to curl those pieces once we're finished putting our florals on. So now we're going to lay these straight down flat. So this just requires a little bit of glue. And again, I'm only gluing the center because if I want to tuck, then I need to have a little bit of room to do it. And then this one. Okay, so now we've got this center piece that's wide open. That's where these are going to come in. We want to pop. Okay, so we're going to pop one up. That's going to fill your space. And then I'm going to tuck this one in just a little bit under. And it's going to fill up your space. Okay, so this one is going to get put first. Even though this is going to be popped, we're going to do the same as what we did the last time. Glue at the bottom here and some foam tape there. This one is just going to get a full piece of foam tape right smack dab in the center. And then you're going to move it just to the side just a little bit. Okay, so we've got our bottom pieces that are curled. We don't want to curl those just yet. I think we'll leave those just like that. And then we've got these top pieces curled. So that gives us this large piece that's going to tuck nicely underneath our other two pieces. So I'm going to lay some glue here. And I'm going to use just a small little piece of foam tape right there. And again, I'm going to put a little bit of liquid adhesive on there in case I need to move it. It'll just give me a little bit of time. Okay, so I'm going to pop this under here. And let's just see how far we want to bring that out. I actually like that. I think that's going to look good. We've got that little bud. So we've got a little space in here. Pull that up so you can see it. And I just find that it looks a little bit funny. So we're actually going to take that little bud and we're going to curl this particular piece. Okay. And I'm not going to add water. It's so small. I'm just going to really curl it and I'm going to fold in the center. So it's really looking a little bit, I guess, rough, but it's going to tuck in really nicely in here and it's going to give you a little bit of a lift. So I do want to get a little bit of glue on the end here and then we're going to just tuck it right back in. Okay. So that's why little pieces are fabulous for tucking in and taking up space. So we've got a lot of space going either way and our branches are sticking out quite far. So what I do want to do is I want to take those buds and I want to add some height. Okay. And I think I'm going to tuck this one just a little bit further. And then I'm going to add the leaf. So it covers up that branch a little bit, but you can still see it sticking out. Now, I also want to curl this. So I'm going to give that a little bit of water. Just that tip portion. And we're going to go in and we're going to curl that just a little bit. We're going to pop that right in underneath there. And we're just going to take a few minutes to just curl that just a little bit more. And then our leaf is going to pop in just out like, I think we'll put it down just a little bit. So you can see how we've elongated that whole grouping to give it a little bit more length, which allows you to have a better grouping on your card base. I also like to work in triangles, so we've kind of split this right down the middle, and then we've got the color down here. So we actually have a bottom left or right hand corner heavy triangle, and it's going to get even more heavy when we add a sentiment down here. So we have everything kind of going up this way, but we all know that florals usually have some dangling pieces. So this is again where those little buds are going to come in here, just to give again more length to have that space taken up, so that when we go to put our sentiment, we've got a nice area for that. So I actually curled this as I was putting it in. I didn't use any water, so you can do that. And again, I'm not putting any foam tape here. We are just going to add a little bit of glue. We're going to have that dangling down. And we can put one more in. I've got an extra little piece in here. If you did that, you could do that. And then you've got those dangly pieces, which we all know are part of the way florals go. So try and think about how you see your flowers when you're looking at them, because it'll make your card and placement of your pieces a little bit more realistic. So I've taken a very small sentiment on this one. I found a sticker in the back, and I've just added it to a postage stamp cutout die that we had floating around. And again, we are bottom right hand heavy, so I do want to place my sentiment on that bottom corner. And I think I'm going to come in right here, just like that. Now, if you don't like that, you can always come in right at the very bottom, and you can get away with that. For myself, I find that just a little bit too low, so I'm actually going to come up in here, and I'm going to pop that right there. And I'm not foam taping it because my sticker has already been foam taped. So we're going to put that down just like that. And there is the second card. One little thing that you can do, if you don't like the break here, go ahead and extend your layering of your inks just a little bit higher. If you want a variegated look, add a little bit more orange on this side, just in the corner area, just to give a little bit more variegation on there. It'll help out. You can also repeat this by using these two colors in the florals. So watercolor your florals, and then you'll have a completely different look altogether. Thank you very much for joining. I hope that you enjoyed the process for the two cards that we made. Same ideas, just turned around a little bit differently. And if you're gonna spend some time stamping and die cutting, you might as well do a whole grouping so that you have those pieces ready for the next time that you want to create. Pull out all of those scrap sentiments that you have floating around. They are perfect for cards like this. And just have fun and enjoy the process. it's an easy process, but like always, sometimes our first card doesn't go the way we want it. So make sure that you are using that as a way to remember what to do and not to do. Thanks so much for watching. I will have the cards up with the list of products that we used. Have a great afternoon, and hope to catch you on Friday for our Friday finds. Thank you. Thanks, Deborah.